So I'm going to tell you who I am and what I do. I am the founder of Social Media Examiner. I am a blogger.
Businesses knew they needed to be doing this social media thing, but they didn't really understand what it was.
I would say that my superpowers are really in the world of podcasting.
Premier Facebook marketing expert and top social media thought leader.
New York Times best-selling author.
I've been published in the Huffington Post, Forbes, Inc. magazine.
It's social first, media second, and marketing last.
Social media is an ingredient. It's not the entree.
So the simplest way to describe me, though, is I am a marketer.
Hi, I'm John Lincoln, and I'm on a mission to try to figure out the perfect social media marketing strategy for business. I'm a digital marketing expert, but I'm smart enough to know that I don't know everything. Over the next 24 hours, I'm going to be speaking to the top people in social media marketing. At the end of this day, we're going to figure out the perfect strategy for businesses.
On my journey, I'm going to be looking at how should businesses set up a social media strategy that delivers. What does a content marketing strategy look like? And what are the types of content they should be creating? And how often should they be posting? How many networks should they be on? How much is social media organic reach dropping? And how fast are social media ads exploding? Is social media right for all businesses? I think that's a question a lot of people have on their mind. Are there any specific strategies that have an impact for social that really get a huge return? And what do those look like on each platform? What does the future of social media look like? And what are businesses doing to get the biggest returns on social media now? To do that, I want to talk to some of the top experts in the industry. And at the end of the journey, I'll be taking what I learned to create the perfect social media strategy guidelines for marketers around the world. The first person I'm going to speak with is Baer. Jay's a keynote speaker, New York Times best-selling author of 5 books, and the founder of 5 multi-million-dollar companies.
So I've spent more than 25 years in digital marketing. When I started in online marketing, domain names were free. You could just get whatever domain name that you wanted. And in 1993, my partners and I and my very first internet company sold Budweiser.com to Anheuser-Busch for 50 cases of beer. That is a true story. That's how long I've been doing this. So things have changed an awful lot now, and now I run a consulting firm that helps the biggest companies in the world understand social media strategy, how to connect with their audiences in a way that is visceral and powerful. The initial group of social networks that failed, FriendFeed, Friendster, MySpace, etc. I think the failure was on 2 fronts. One, probably too early, right? We're out there before the mass population was ready to connect in this way. I think we forget how different social media is than the world before social media. And also the customer experience, the user experience, the actual UI and where you click was not great. Like if you remember MySpace, it was a train wreck. Like really, really difficult to use unless you were a super power user. And so I think that holds you back. Today, though, sort of the next round or the second or third wave of social network failures are not because it's too hard to use, or not because it's too early, it's just straight competitive pressure. And frankly, it's Facebook strategically and intentionally squeezing the life out of competitors. That's what's happening today. It's not about customer experience. It's not about being too new. It's that when Facebook sees a threat, they do whatever possible to attack that threat and make it go away. There's a lot of options when you think about how to use social media marketing for business. I would tell you the first place to start is to use social media for customer service. If your customers are asking you for help in social media today, start there. The key is to use the parts of social media that you actually have a passion for. Here's something I've learned in my many, many years. If you hate social media, you will suck at social media. So if you're thinking, hey, should I use Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat or LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever, you should use the one that you like the best. Because if you like it better, you will make better content. If you make better content, people will react to that content more positively and you'll have more success. I would argue that every business has to be active in social media, at least from a customer service context. It almost is the new Yellow Pages, where increasingly consumers who have a problem want to tweet the business. They want to leave a Facebook comment. They want to get a question answered in an Instagram comment. That's just happening. It's going to continue to happen. So even if for whatever reason you're not comfortable using social media for marketing, you should probably think about using it for customer service for your business. Now, can every single business use social media effectively for marketing? I think they can if they choose to put on a customer hat and think about what would real people actually want to see from us in social media, which is typically not coupons, promotions, special offers, and bullet points. The reality is what a lot of businesses fail to do is think about what customers want when they create content in social media. They think about what's good for the business and they put that out there and then they're shocked when that doesn't work. Well, of course it's not going to work because you've got billions and billions and billions of people using social media, and 0 of them wake up and say, hey, you know what I love most about social media? The fact that businesses use it. Those words have never been uttered, and you have to always remember that. We must stop random acts of Facebook. If you're trying to succeed with Facebook for your business, the worst possible way to do that is to add stuff to Facebook when you feel like it about a crazy random collection of topics. It simply will not work. You absolutely have to have a set strategy for what you're putting on Facebook, when, why, and for whom. In my business, we think of Facebook and all social networks actually as shows. So we use a TV network analogy. We say, okay, The Walking Dead is a show. It is on the same time every week. It has the same characters. It has the same pace. It is targeted at the same audience. Your social networks should be the same thing. So you have one or more Facebook shows. Maybe you do a weekly live video. Maybe you do a weekly quiz. Maybe you do a weekly feature on a customer. You have consistent shows and cadences, and that allows you to develop content that is A, of higher quality, and B, allows your audience to tune in.
So Jay made some really interesting comments and did an awesome job laying out the strategy. I expected nothing less. And one of my favorites was treating each social media profile like a TV channel. Think about that. You need to schedule, you need to have great ratings, and you need to think about every single piece of content that you're posting like a TV show that's going on the air.
We clearly learned a lot talking to Jay. Now we're going to go talk to Michael Stelzner. Michael Stelzner runs Social Media Marketing World, which is the biggest event in social media marketing. He also runs Social Media Examiner and has a top 50 podcast. Mike knows a lot about social media, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
The early days of social media were literally the Wild Wild West. Everybody was rushing to this thing called social media because back then, 2008, 2009, we were in the Great Recession, budgets were getting slashed, and people were looking for some new savior, and that new savior's name was social media. For any business that wants to get into social media, the critical thing is really to, first and foremost, know who you want to reach. Figure out what their interests are, what their passions are, and then literally give them exactly what they want for free. And what I mean by that is maybe give them a video telling them how to do something, maybe give them a course, maybe give them a graphic, maybe give them some audio, whatever they want, give it to them for free. Because people love to share tips and techniques that help make them look good to other people. So if you can give away stuff that other people would normally charge for, that can be exceptionally valuable. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you're getting started with social media marketing, you really need to be thinking about a content strategy. You really need to figure out what that content play is going to be for your business. The next step, and really the last step, is once you know who you want to reach and you figured out the kind of content that you want to put in front of them, then you really want to put some paid advertising behind that. When you're just getting started with social media, don't try to be everywhere at once. I think that is pretty much going to result in failure. Instead, pick a place that you're comfortable and where you know there's a decent size audience, and understand the way things work on that platform and master that, and then move on to the next one. The Facebook algorithm really has been the shift that has changed absolutely everything for the marketing community. Simply said, it is smart artificial intelligence technology that is monitoring everything that happens on social and stopping marketers from ruining it. And let's be honest, marketers, we ruin everything. So the algorithm is really designed to make sure that our stuff doesn't get through. It creates a better user experience, but it makes it very hard for those of us that are marketers, because there was a day where we could post something and 100% of our audience would see it, and it would be shared thousands upon thousands of times. Now we're lucky to get a couple dozen shares. And the challenge that we're facing as marketers right now is that no matter what we try, the algorithm is smarter than us, is faster than us, and knows your game, marketer. I think we are nearing a place of Facebook zero, which is a phrase that many people in our industry mean that the idea that organic reach is possible is going to ultimately screech to a zero. I read between the lines. I think we are approaching a day where we will not ever be able to get organic reach from posting on a page, and we may be getting to that point on every social network where the idea of building your home on rented land is going to become a real problem. If we accept the fact that algorithms are killing organic reach, what we're left with is paid. And I think whenever we put $1 behind anything, it better be trackable. And I can assure you that it is with every one of these social platforms. So, simply said, the future of social media is paid. And whenever you're paying, you can track. And whenever you track, you can measure an ROI. And what that ROI may be for you could be traffic, conversions, exposure, any one of those things. And it kind of is really up to the business to decide what it is that matters the most to them.
Amy Landino is a video marketing expert, and she's got some really great strategies for us to set our social media marketing strategy. Let's go speak with her next.
Your content strategy on YouTube looks like a couple of things. First, you just have to decide what is the promise that we want to make for our audience on YouTube and make good on that. But keeping into consideration that it is the #2 search engine on the planet. So the best thing you can do is be helpful, be resourceful. What is it that somebody you would work with wants to know before they'll listen to you about what you think they need to know, which is usually buying your product or hiring you for your services. How do you get them to that point? How do you coach them there? That's your content strategy. Everyone wants to know, how often do you upload? It's a great question. If you were to just get the short answer from YouTube, they would tell you that the industry standard is to upload once a week. Get good at that. Just get good at that. The best channels in the world, they have a once a week schedule. They nail that. They do an amazing job. They might start a second channel if it's more appropriate to do that. The lifespan of a video on YouTube is years versus on other social platforms where they die in a day. There's these 3 areas of content on YouTube that make a sustainable channel: Hub, Hero, and Help. Hub is all about making those subscribers happy. Hero is getting out there on a larger scale. And Help is showing up in those search results. You need a healthy balance of all 3. And you can do that on a once a week schedule, but you have to balance it out. You have to keep people guessing, but still make good on the promise that you said you were going to do when the channel started from the start. The biggest challenge is thinking you need to be on all social networks, be in all places for all people, and I think that's where a lot of businesses have gotten into trouble. They want to get the most mileage out of all their campaigns, their work, their videos, the stuff that they're investing in, but they're better off focusing and just nailing 1 or 2 of these networks. You don't have to be everywhere. Tell people where you are and knock it out of the park. The challenge, I think, is choosing where do you want to be, but once you do, you can go all in and succeed in such a big way that makes it completely worth it. The reason why people are mostly not successful with YouTube is they think all video platforms are the same. That's, I mean, like, simply put. So in doing so, you upload your video and you let it fly and you hope that the whole world comes to you or it goes viral. And that's a huge mistake. You didn't carefully craft your copy the way it needs to be, your title, your description, your tags. You didn't make that custom thumbnail, that one visual human SEO option that you have at your disposal, which is so important. You let YouTube pull one of 3 options for you, which is the worst. It's always the worst image of yourself or anything happening. For those automatic thumbnails, never do that. But just the biggest thing is not realizing that on the other side of the camera that recorded this entire experience and is delivering a message is another person. The biggest mistake people make with YouTube video or any video at all is just realizing that they are talking to a person. They're not talking to a camera, they're not talking to a lens, that's just a device.
Now we're gonna go speak with Sunny Lenarduzzi. Sunny knows a ton about video. She's an up-and-coming YouTuber and video marketing strategist. I can't wait to hear what she has to say.
Video at this stage is, in my opinion, the most important part of marketing online. I don't think that there's any better way to connect with your audience than actually seeing them and them being able to see you as a real person. When it comes to the know, like, and trust factor, nothing does it better than video, particularly live video. And I think the proof is in the pudding. I mean, every single social media platform over the last year has adopted video and adopted live video and adopted things like stories. We have Facebook stories, Instagram stories, and of course that all stemmed from Snapchat. So there's a reason that video has become so popular on every platform and why people are clamoring to be using it to build their businesses and brands. And then as far as scripting, it's really important to script your videos in the right way. So having a really short introduction that gets people into the meat of the content immediately, because again, if someone's finding you in search, they're not necessarily looking for you. They don't want your life story. They just want the answer to their question, the solution to their problem. So you need to give it to them as quickly as possible to increase your retention and increase your watch time, which again, increases your ranking. When it comes to YouTube, for me, as far as analytics go, the most important metric is watch time and retention. So those two for me are king of the castle and the main things that I go after. So I want to make sure that people are watching the entire video the whole way through to increase my viewer retention, because that tells YouTube and Google it's a great piece of content, they should rank higher. And then of course, I want to make sure that people are staying on my channel to increase the watch time to give me more authority. So creating almost a spider web with my videos of one video linking to another, creating playlists to keep people on my channel longer. So those are some of the things that I do to increase those analytics and keep them in a positive place. And then obviously a big factor as well is engagement. So I treat YouTube as its own community, which I think you should do with every platform, and I'm making sure that I'm asking for likes. I'm also asking for dislikes, because that engagement also tells me a lot and gives me qualitative feedback to say, maybe that topic wasn't as good as another topic I could create a video on, and that helps me cater to my audience. I want comments and subscribes and all the things that are gonna tell me this is a good piece of content, and also tell Google and YouTube, wow, this video has a ton of engagement on it. Again, we should rank it higher, which means it gets more views on a wider scale and opens me up to a whole new audience. I think it depends on the business, and it also, I think, depends on the objective. If you want a quick hit, short campaign and you want to go viral, Facebook's where to go. If you want long-term, sustainable, evergreen results and you want traffic on a daily basis from a new audience, YouTube's where you want to go. If you're more of a visual brand, if you're in the retail space or e-commerce space perhaps, Instagram is where you should be. So I think it really depends on what industry you're in and what your objective is with social.
Sunny made it clear that video is incredibly important for all businesses to utilize through their own marketing on social media platforms and on YouTube specifically. She didn't talk about just YouTube. She talked about taking video and distributing it across the web, which is something that I really believe in and do quite frequently with my own profiles. You can create one piece of video, chop it up, and then distribute it in the correct form across all the different social media platforms and get a bigger bang for your buck and really increase the size of your brand and reach. Her points about having video strategies that are specific to each of the sites really made sense. When looking at social media value in the last click attribution inside of analytics, which basically means looking at somebody who their last click was from social media and then they came to your website, you want to see traffic and you want to see conversions there. Also, you can use things like the linear attribution and multi-channel funnels model to track social media as well. What that means is when a customer is on a journey, sometimes they have multiple touch points. They might start on Google and come to your website and then come back from social media and then come back again from an ad. When you use the linear attribution model, what that does is that allocates a percentage to each of those steps inside of the buyer's journey. So 33% would be allocated to each one for the lead that came in. That to me is a really important point inside of social media marketing. Was it the first click on social media that then led to these other clicks and then eventually had the person convert? Was it the last click? Was it the middle click? Or was there no click at all? And so when it comes to attributing leads and revenue to social media, these are things that marketers really need to be thinking about.
Mari Smith is somebody who's been doing Facebook forever. And next, we're gonna go speak with her and just learn a little bit about how you should be marketing your business on Facebook. I actually learned about Mari over a decade ago when Facebook first came out. So she's gonna be able to tell us a ton about the platform.
Facebook is the #1 social networking platform on the planet. Facebook was becoming literally an ingrained part of our daily habits. People would get up while they're brushing their teeth, they're looking and they're checking Facebook. It became addictive. It's a psychological, behavioral habit, you know, and so then that's really a big part of what makes Facebook so successful in the long run was that incredible user adoption and the amount of times per day that Facebook users check on average 14 times a day, or some people 14 times an hour. Facebook strategy right now needs to be very much focused on 3 main things. Number 1, video. Facebook's on an absolute mission to dominate in the world of digital streaming video. Number 2, mobile. Over 90% of Facebook users access the platform predominantly on mobile. Even though we as business owners, we are marketers or providing business consulting services, we might sit at a desk all day and look at a laptop or a desktop. Our user, we have to remember that the user is predominantly on mobile. And the third thing is you must have an ad budget. Back in the day, it used to be that you could just do all this wonderful organic reach. I mean, I remember pages getting 200% and 300% reach, literally 2 to 3 times the number of fans they had. And now organic reach since 2012 has gradually been coming down and down and down. On average, business pages are getting between 1% and 6% organic reach. So with those 3 components, video, formatting for mobile, and having an ad budget, they will form the basis of a really powerful strategy on Facebook. Where Facebook is headed in the future is most definitely digital streaming television. You will see in a short period of time that Facebook is going to be climbing up the leaderboard, competing with Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, of course YouTube, and they are really wanting to get the consumers watching the Watch platform. It's called Watch. You can watch it on desktop, on mobile, and on your television. And Facebook is really drawing in creators, more content creators to produce television quality, episodic content.
Next, we're gonna go speak with Sue Zimmerman, who's an Instagram strategist. She really knows her stuff when it comes to Instagram, which is one of the fastest growing platforms out there. I can't wait to hear what she has to say.
You have to have creativity. You have to understand the power of photography because Instagram started in 2010 as a photography app and has evolved over time to be one of, if not the most powerful social tool in your business. So I've been teaching social media for 8 to 9 years now. I wanted to teach other business owners, specifically small business owners, how to have more success in business, because I believe that small business owners overthink way too much when they just need to really get specific and very niche in what it is they want to sell. The most successful accounts on Instagram are the 3 F's: fashion, food, and fitness. So if you can niche down in any of those 3 categories, so let's start with fashion. So if you are a fashion designer, or if you are someone that does makeup and you just stay in that space and teach makeup in the fashion industry, if the Instagram account is confusing, meaning what you're telling me that you're doing in the bio doesn't match up to what you're doing in your feed, you've lost me. And the most successful accounts on Instagram have a strong visual strategy where it's aesthetically pleasing to scroll through the account, not just looking at one post at a time, but the whole feed.
When it comes to LinkedIn, there's really nobody who's written more about it and studied it more than Viveka von Rosen. For all those B2B marketers out there and people looking to grow their network, I know they're gonna find this really interesting. So next, we're gonna go speak with Viveka.
What I love about LinkedIn is it's business focused. You're gonna see your prospects there, and you have an awesome opportunity to start building those relationships. With LinkedIn, there's really 3 core areas that I think people need to be focused on. The first one, the foundational piece, is the branding piece, your personal profile and your company page. When you Google someone's name, even when you Google a company, a lot of times a LinkedIn profile or a LinkedIn company page or even a LinkedIn article will show up. And so it makes a lot of sense to make sure that if your profile is going to show up, that it looks good. The reason most people want to use LinkedIn, of course, is to build their businesses. So lead generation, finding candidates if they're looking for employees, finding prospects, finding new customers, finding clients. There's a huge opportunity to find leads on LinkedIn. So knowing how to use it as a Rolodex, knowing how to use the search. And then once you find the right people, knowing the right way of reaching out. Like, don't ask them home, first. Like, get to know them a little bit. Ask them some questions. Try to get on the phone with them. And not to sell your stuff, but try to get on the phone with them to build a relationship. It's about creating that win-win environment. And then the third piece that I think is really important, it's probably not crucial, but I think it's really important, is the content marketing piece. Whether you're creating video, whether you're sharing updates, whether you're using LinkedIn Publisher to repurpose your blog posts or create new posts, using these pieces of content or these content features will really help to position yourself as an expert. I mean, that is truly how I got the book deal. It'll help to position you as an expert. It'll give people a real taste of who you are and a real idea of what your capabilities are. If you have those 3 pieces, if you've got the foundational profile, if you've got the desire and the strategy behind finding and engaging with those leads, and then if you've got the content to kind of support the whole picture, you can be extremely successful on LinkedIn.
Next, we're going to go speak with Pat Flynn. Pat Flynn is a digital marketing expert, a keynote speaker, and somebody who runs a top podcast. We're going to learn a ton about podcasting from Pat, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
So obviously when you have an online business, there are a lot of different things that you can do. And I would say that my superpowers are really in the world of podcasting. And using social media specifically to build amazing relationships with those who follow me on my podcast, on my blog, and through my videos. So I wouldn't start a podcast if I were you if you had a lot of other focuses that you need to have in your business. For example, maybe you are big on video right now and you are thinking about doing podcasting because everybody else is doing it. Well, don't just do something because everybody else is doing it. Do it because it's going to best integrate into your business and there's a plan. The plan for your podcast should be not just to build a stronger relationship with your audience, but you can actually direct your listeners and have a lot of engagement with your audience, and therefore actually get a lot of results from the podcast that you create. Because when you think about it, people are listening to you for so long, you absolutely have permission to give them a call to action at the end of those podcast episodes. So don't integrate it into your business if you have other things that you need to focus on first, because podcasting, it does require a commitment to stay consistent, to provide great value, to provide amazing guests. If you're doing an interview show, for example, it takes time to actually create all this and put it out there. But when you do, you're going to see amazing results. So one other thing I want to touch on related to podcasts, maybe starting one doesn't make sense for you, but I would also figure out how you might be able to get on podcasts that already exists, because those people who are hosts of those shows, they have amazing relationships with their audience, like I said. And if you can be a guest on their show, if you have some information that perhaps would be very useful and valuable to their audience, it will put you in a great light for potential business for yourself. So coming on as a guest, or you can also come on as a sponsorship and advertise on certain shows. A lot of podcasters are looking for advertisers to come on. And if you make sure that those advertisements are very organic, that they are actually integrated into those shows in a very natural kind of way, you can get a lot of results. So here's the thing, podcasting is evergreen. People are still listening to my earlier episodes that were created back in 2010. I'm still getting results because I'm tracking them from podcast episodes that I created years ago. So you get in front of an engaged audience now on a podcast, you can have potential business leads coming in for quite a long time.
Me, I'm a huge blogger. I see tons of value in it. It's one of the best ways to drive traffic, revenue, and or leads to your business. But I want to learn more. So next I'm going to go speak with Leslie Samuel. And Leslie's somebody who's built a business off of teaching people how to blog.
So I would say I'm an expert in blogging. Like, how do you start with an idea, and how do you build a blog, and how do you get people to that blog, but then also how do you turn it into a business so that you can make money and possibly even do it full time. You really want to understand who you are trying to target. Who is your target audience? And the more specific you can get about that, the more you can really, hone in on what that person is looking for, so that you can start creating that kind of content to attract that ideal person that you're looking to get. Now, if you're comparing like someone that's an individual like myself to a big corporation, one of the things that really stands out to me is the personality aspect. When someone comes to my blog, they're coming to my blog to connect with me as an individual. So I'll be more likely to share personal stories of things that I'm encountering and so on, and that will allow them to connect with me in a way that makes them, they come to know, like, and trust me. And by doing that now, we have that relationship that we can take to the next level in terms of doing business with each other. Now, if you're thinking about a big corporation, generally speaking, I'm not trying to connect with one person at Coca-Cola or Pepsi or one of these big brands. I'm trying to connect with an experience. And not that there's not an experience on the personal blog or the individual blog aspect, but when it comes to these bigger corporations, I think you need to be thinking more about how can you create an experience for the community that's developing around your brand, around your product, around your service. So one of the biggest problems that I see a lot of businesses have when it comes to social media is that they forget about the social part. They go on these platforms because they hear that they can get a lot of exposure, so they start posting links to their offers and their products and their services, and nobody cares. Here's the fact. People don't go on social media to buy stuff or to get special offers. They go on there to connect with the people and the things that they care about. So if you're thinking about getting into social media and getting into it as a way of marketing your business, you want to think about it as a way of how can I connect with people? What kind of stories should I share? What kind of videos should I create? What can I do that will allow people to connect with the ideas that I'm trying to put out there? And then after that comes the marketing part. It's social first, media second, and marketing last.
Brenda Ster comes from the world of direct sales, but direct sales has so many marketing implications, and she's got some amazing courses, specifically on Pinterest and also Facebook groups.
Pinterest is driving 2.5 million pins a month. It's massive amounts of repins, huge user base, 150 million active users a month. mostly women, mostly between the ages of 25 and 49. It is where a female-centric marketer needs to be. It's where the base is. It's where people are using the tool as a search engine. First thing that struck me about Pinterest was really an emotional connection before anything else. Because my mom is to this day still somebody who cuts articles out of magazines and newspapers. She cuts out recipes. She saves things and puts them in a folder for me. And that's really what Pinterest is. It's digital articles and curation and things like that. So Pinterest was immediately something I was drawn to because it had an emotional connection to all of those articles and recipes and ideas and craft projects. Pinterest is a lifestyle channel. Pinterest is all about understanding and curating the lifestyle that your client can envision themselves in and how your product then fits that part of the lifestyle. So when we're curating a lot of content and curating boards and cultivating that presence, that's really what the small business marketer needs to understand. Who is my ideal client? What is the lifestyle that I'm creating for them? And how does my product fit? And then show that through a really visually appealing set of boards and pin strategy. One of the biggest challenges I see in a lot of small business owners is they don't understand something as fundamental as source website. This is the most important thing with Pinterest. Even if you do nothing else, if you do nothing else with keywords and hashtags and SEO, you have to understand source website. What a lot of small business owners will do is they'll search for content that's similar to what they sell, and they'll repin other people's content. They'll repin other people's content because they want to show examples. But in reality, they're repinning other people's content to their followers and directing their followers to someone else's funnel, directing followers to a competitor. So the most fundamental thing is understanding that source website and where every pin goes, not having dead links, not having dead images, not having a dead end, or indirectly driving someone to a competitor and not even realizing it.
Joel Comm is a maverick when it comes to social media marketing and really any type of digital marketing. He's been doing this for a really long time, and he'll tell you that himself. I can't wait to hear what he's got to say in regards to Twitter specifically, because he's invested a ton of time on the platform.
My name's Joel Comm. I've been an internet entrepreneur since the beginning of time. The essence of any business, whether online or offline, is building a relationship with your customers. And because of the immediacy of Twitter, people have grown accustomed to having a response quickly. And this is why it's important to engage in these relationships. And the relationships are built not by just selling your product or service. That people make mistakes all the time of treating Twitter and other social platforms and really any form of marketing as though they're stepping on the soapbox in the village square with a megaphone and saying, buy my stuff. That's not how you do it though. There's a 4-step process to selling more of anything, and it's relationship based. And the 4 steps are know me, like me, trust me, pay me. In that order. You cannot circumvent it. People have to know who you are first before they can decide if they like you or not. And once they like you, then they can receive your message to see if your message is trustworthy, if they like you that much that they trust you. And once you have endeared yourself with trust to your prospect, then and only then can you move to the pay me, the 4th step. What do we do on Twitter when we like someone? Well, we follow them. It says, I'm going to give you a chance. Let's find out what you're all about. As that person or that business or brand tweets, we get to know who they are. We get to know what they're all about. We get to know what's important to them. And as we discover that, do they engage with us? Do they respond? Do they share value through their Twitter account? Then we know whether or not we trust them. And if you have inculcated like, know, and trust into somebody who is following you, it's actually a very short hop to a transaction, which is the pay me. Whether you're selling goods, services, an idea, whatever it is, it's building that relationship through authenticity and connection. Well, I think the content of what you're going to tweet is going to vary from business to business and vertical to vertical. But ultimately, we have to remember that none of us are in the business of selling a product or service. You might have made yourself believe that you're selling a product or service, but really what you're in the business of is serving people through the product or service that you offer. People ask me, how do I create a campaign that will go viral? First thing I do is I shake my head and I tell them, you're thinking about this wrong. The right question is, what kind of story can we tell that will be so compelling that other people will want to retell it? The social sites have this built in. The social sites are inherently made for sharing. They encourage sharing. And so when your story is so compelling that others want to retell it for you, now you've got a viral piece. But you don't approach it as though you're making something viral. Seek to tell great stories. And if your story is great, you'll know it from the response.
After all these conversations, I sat and I thought for a long time. I had many of the things they said running around in my head. I realized it was time and I was ready to create the perfect system for social media marketing. Step 1. First, create your personas by pulling data from your own analytics and using competitive analysis tools. Number 2, determine where these people spend time online. 3, find out the content and the profiles that they interact with the most. 4, review the content and the social media advertising strategy. 5, pick the most important social media channels for your business to start with, the ones that are going to get you the biggest return. 6, create an aggressive and well thought out social media content strategy. 7, create images with your company branding on it that people are going to want to click on, interact with, and that are visually appealing. 8, create a community building strategy, a content and publishing schedule, a social media advertising strategy, and a creative campaign strategy where you're running viral and creative campaigns at least once a quarter. 9, put this strategy into a 3-month plan where you know exactly what you're doing every single day, every single week, and every single month, and what your goals are for each of the platforms. 10, execute and review it weekly. Take a look at your metrics, take a look at your analytics, and make sure to double down on the initiatives that are driving the most traffic and the most leads and/or revenue for your business. Once you own one platform, go on to the next. And overall, shoot to own 2 to 4 networks where you are really pumping out content, doing advertising, and attracting business on social media.
You think about social media even 5-8 years ago, it was primarily people who were community managers who could write in 1 or 2 sentences and make people feel good. Now, I am massively oversimplifying the role of a community manager, but that's what it was. It was purely written, a sentence or 2, people who were really good at dealing with other people. Now, you're talking about needing videographers and analysts and media buyers. That's a whole different set of skills.
I also think we're going to start to see in the next 5 to 10 years a big push on things like augmented reality and virtual reality related to social media and having people connect in ways that we can't even imagine yet.
Facebook is working on an amazing amount of advanced technologies in what they call their secret building 8. It's going to be really exciting to see what they bring out in the future.
I am here to tell you that video is the future. Document what you're doing inside of your business. Show people the good, the bad, and the ugly of your business, because this is the silver bullet. This is the way that you will be able to connect with people. And what's the one thing we know, John? We know that people buy from those whom they know and they like and they trust.